Hi everyone, my name is Ken, and I am the unluckiest person in the world. As a kid, I almost died twice because of my relatives. I come from a broken home. I only had my mom and my older sister Sam. We have a large age gap, 11 years, so I can't say we're very close. We don't have a dad. I suspect he just ran away from my mom. Sam did the same thing eventually. Mom is a very complicated person. She's extremely strict and she only knows one method of parenting: physical punishments. She can get mad from the smallest things. For example, just because the shoes aren't put properly in the hallway. From the outside, our family looks fine, but it's not easy to live in such an environment. It was harder for my sister than for me. I was smaller, weaker, and hitting me too hard could have consequences. So poor Sam suffered from it a lot more. She once left the bathroom door not fully closed, and when I accidentally came in, I was terrified with what I saw. Her whole back was covered with scars and bruises. And with all that, my sister managed to cover for me. When I messed up, she always took the blame and suffered for both of us. We had nowhere to go, because from the outside, everything looked fine. Our mom worked as an accountant in some firm with connections. If we had gone somewhere to talk about this, they would have rejected us. Sam tried once, but they didn't even let her talk. The same night, Mom explained to her why we shouldn't do this. When I went to school, Sam got married and vanished. She just one time came to my room at night, kissed me goodbye, and in the morning she disappeared with all of her stuff. Mom cried so hard. I jumped out the window, though we lived on the second floor, used pipes to climb down, and ran into the street, because she could just as easily have killed me without even noticing it. I couldn't blame Sam. I'd run away too, but I had nowhere to go. I was only 7. So Mom started putting all of her parental anger onto me. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. You could say that I shouldn't have messed up, but trust me, anything could become a reason for her. My grades were bad, and it's not surprising. Instead of doing homework, I sat as quietly as I could, and I was afraid to leave the room or to make noise. As I learned from books later, I only developed survival skills, and I couldn't add anything else to them. The saddest thing was trying to keep the place clean and tidy. She expected a 7-year-old to maintain everything in a perfect order, just like in the army. Of course, I would miss some little things from time to time. I could forget to put a dirty plate in the sink. And it already was an excuse for her to get super mad. If she hated kids so much, why did she have 2 of them? The only happy days were when Sam used to take me away from home. She got herself a decent life, and she got prettier after her escape. Her husband turned out to be a nice man. He helped her with money, and she opened her own small business, a flower shop. Of course, she had to do everything and maintain the place all by herself, but the money was stable, and she could rely on it. Sam looked for ways to take me away from Mom. She couldn't just steal me to live with her. Mom had connections. So Sam would have been put in jail or just beaten up again. She talked to lawyers and asked for help from her husband, but so far it had no results. In addition, her mother-in-law was not great, and they lived together. So besides working and trying to save me, she was saving money to buy her own apartment. But when we did meet, it was just amazing. She used to take me to amusement parks and gave me treats and let me do whatever I wanted. If not for these short but happy meetings, I would have definitely gone crazy from the constant tension. And in the end, she would always put a few bills in my pocket so I could buy something tasty at school. Mom didn't let us starve, but she didn't give us any pocket money either. She thought we didn't deserve to deal with money on our own. And when I was at school, I wanted so much to buy myself a new toy, a cookie, or a fancy pencil box. If not for Sam's help, I wouldn't be able to afford any little thing you can't help but want when you're a kid. Everything changed suddenly. It's bad to be happy when someone's ill, but Sam and I were on top of the world. When I was 14 years old, Mom was taken to the hospital for an emergency operation. I don't know what the problem was. Sam says it was a kind of women's operation. She added it would take a long time, and we had a chance to get in touch with some social services. Sam was allowed to take me with her as the only adult relative. We celebrated it with balloons and lemonade, and I moved into their apartment. Her husband was not against it. He worked as a sort of sea captain, so he didn't spend much time at home anyway. He could go sailing and return only after 2 months. The least pleasant thing was living with her mother-in-law. She was strict as a grandma, but after Mom, I could easily bear her hissing because it was not followed by hitting. I continued going to school. I even got better at studying, and I was praised a couple times. And Sam worked while her husband was away. By this time, she already had 3 shops and some staff. She didn't give up on her dream about the apartment, but she decided to postpone it a bit and expand the business first. Sam worked like a dog and showed up at home only to sleep and to shower. I was already quite independent, so she wasn't worried about me. On the contrary, sometimes I cooked for the whole family and made her eat because she was always so weak and tired. With all that, I have no idea how Sam managed to get pregnant and give birth to a little girl. A small, but a very loud one. I looked after her during the nights so that Sam could get some rest. Sam kept on working, only now she took her daughter with her. But the mother-in-law clearly did not like what her apartment was turning into. Maybe she didn't like Sam specifically, but she couldn't get to her. I, on the other hand, was always around. She never hit me. She almost never spoke to me. This woman went further. She put a lock on the fridge and hid the key. By that time, Sam was barely ever home, so she didn't see it. I didn't want to complain, so I ate at the school cafeteria. It was not enough, though. Plus, I didn't want to disturb Sam as she was working like crazy in her business and raising a kid at the same time. Once, my sister, her husband, and their kid left for another city for almost a month. I was left alone with her mother-in-law. Sam gave me some money just in case, but I ran out of it quickly. The mother-in-law went even further. She changed the locks on the door and wouldn't let me in. I had 3 options. Returning to Mom, I hadn't spoken to her for a year already, reaching out to Sam in the middle of her vacation, which it seemed embarrassing to do that, or living on the streets. I chose the last option. I started living in the streets. It was already spring, so I could spend nights on a park bench. At school, I told them about the water being turned off and constant repairs at the apartment to explain my appearance. I spent nights on a bench, ate from a garbage can behind the mall, and used their restrooms. It was quite bearable, except it was a bit weird and scary on the bench at night, and I had to run from the police constantly. I was accidentally seen by my classmate Max. He didn't laugh at me. He offered me to live in his garage in exchange for helping his brother in his workshop. His brother even paid me for that. I was kind of his assistant. I got so used to this life that I missed Sam's return. When she came home, she didn't find me. She talked to her mother-in-law, to which she said that I had run away from home. And it didn't surprise her, because our genetics were very poor. Naturally, after this statement, Sam packed her stuff, took her daughter, and moved to a hotel. Later, she started renting an apartment and searching for me. My classmates were interviewed by Sam and police officers, but for some reason, Max didn't tell anything. Apparently, he thought that Sam was the one who kicked me out, but he forgot to tell me that, so I lived the way I lived, worked, maintained the garage, and kept eating by the mall. That was where I met Sam, quite by accident. I didn't even notice her approach me at the trash can. The little one saw her uncle first and shouted. The next second, Sam rushed to pull me out and took me to the hospital. They found nothing and let me go. At the apartment, I told Sam how I was kicked out of the house and how I lived with Max's older brother. At first, she was furious that Max didn't confess to her, but then she understood him and even advised me to stay friends with him since he was so loyal and was not a snitch. Sam told me that she could not stand being in that family and left. Her husband got a bit upset, but understood her. Max and I are still friends, and I still work with his brother, though I don't have much time anymore. After school, I usually look after my niece. She adores me. Her first word was even uncle. Also, I gradually joined the family business. The shop officially belonged to Sam, so she took her business with her when she left that marriage. By the way, that was the reason her ex-mother-in-law wanted to sue her. She suddenly found that her beloved son didn't earn that much. The main income of the family was the flower business, but she got nothing out of it. Sam's husband had already given her the money in cash. Moreover, she fully made it up to him. Finally, her husband and his mom didn't take part in the business at all. Well, that's my story. Write in the comments whether you had the same situation and how you got out of them. Click the like button and fight no matter what, like my older sister. Because even if everyone is against you, there are always 2 ways: to give up or to do something about it.